YouTube, Dawson Writer here. Welcome to my review for Power Rangers issue 18. Before we get started, I want to remind you guys to like this video if you enjoy it, and climb the steps and ring that bell, and also hit the subscribe button so you can get notifications for more videos like this and more. This issue was almost like your really classic, like sci-fi space crew adventure episode. I really did enjoy this issue, but it's kind of funny how much it reminded me of a lot of tropes of TV shows that have like a crew running around in space, because you have multiple of those things going on. I really did like this issue though, because I really like the new status quo they set up for the Omega Rangers as sort of like a Power Rangers in Space series, but with the Omega Rangers mmpr bit. Like, I really like the establishing shots at the beginning that just kind of showed them going about their day-to-day life, kind of establishing the vibe and the setting. I don't know, I really appreciate small little character moments like that. And they find out there's two beacons of distress based off of their previous message that they laid out last episode. Issue. I always say episodes, I'm so used to it. And they decide to split up to go to both of them. And this is like a dumb thing to highlight, but I appreciate that they actually were willing to split up. I know this is the comic, but in PR, I know that teamwork is one of the most important lessons and themes, but sometimes certain series will take it too far, where it's like one character will want to go off on their own, they're like, no! We're useless! There's only 5 of us! I like that they actually were willing to split up. Again, I just hate that trope in the show where they make the teamwork either so cheesy or make it seem like people are useless if they all of a sudden lose numbers. The point is, I like that they were willing to split up. So the teams are Zack and Trini and Yale and Jason. And Zack and Trini, this is what I'm talking about with the classic sci-fi trope of distress signal and then the ship has dead people on it. Like, oh, this distress signal's been going forever. I don't know why there was an accent when they said that, but that's what happens. And then there's this giant monster there and they fight it with the robots. And at the end, though, they find this canister. I don't know what's called a canister, but they find a baby. That's their storyline. And meanwhile, where's Red and Yale going? Why, none other than KO-35, which is somewhat deserted after a battle, which we can presume was the one that Andros told us about in the original series. And they run into a bunch of Beerus's brothers, I guess, and they fight them off a little bit. And then right at the end, like, Andros helps take them out. And Andros reveals himself to the Rangers, or, yeah, to the Rangers. There's 2 Rangers there, because Yale's there. Sorry, Yale. And he's like, oh, I'm a Power Ranger. When Andros reveals himself, he shows his morpher, and he's like, Carter Grayson, Lightspeed Rescue. And then they all kind of compare notes. You know, G is looking over the baby, and then Zack and Trini talk to Jason via hologram, and he tells them, like, well, there's this guy who says he's a Power Ranger, but I don't know, seems pretty suspicious, we'll kind of see. And they tell him, I think they tell him about the baby, I don't remember for sure or not. And then we end off with, again, another classic trope where G's like, oh, there's something you need to see. Like, oh, is something wrong with the baby? He's like, I wouldn't exactly call it a baby. And it's rapidly aging. It's already like a young kid. So that's kind of what I was talking about with the tropes. Like, I feel the setup and the setting of this episode made it feel like you were watching an episode of the Omega Rangers sci-fi original series about a ragtag group having adventures in space. And finding a creature or a kid that starts rapidly aging is definitely a trope I've seen in their shows, as is the whole distress signal of a dead ship. You know, I guess the Andros stuff is a little tropey there too. It's funny because reading this issue, I was thinking how much I love the Omega Ranger stuff because it's the most original stuff that has like nothing to do with the Sentai, and yet this episode was a series of sci-fi show cliches, so it was like original but not. I just couldn't help but think that was funny. But I did enjoy this issue. I think I liked it a little bit more than mmpr 18. For a score, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. Like, it wasn't knocking my socks off or anything, but I thought it was pretty solid. I'll admit I'm not that interested in the rapidly aging kid storyline. We know so little, who knows what it's going to tie into, so it could end up being really amazing, but just based on that premise, I'm not that excited about it. I'm mainly excited about the Andros stuff, mainly because I want to see like how he interacts with the Rangers and how this might set up some backstory for Andros in this continuity. You know, because at this point, you know, based on I'm going to say the show's original timeline, but the original timeline before Shattered Grid is, we're like, what, 3 years away from in space? Because right now I think we're still in the Season 2 zone, and we still have Season 3 Zeo and Turbo to get through, so I would really love to get some backstory on Andros and how he got his powers. I'm curious to see, might tie into seeing Astronema again, because we only showed her and Ecliptor briefly, which almost felt like an extended little teaser, promo, whatever tie-in to pimp out Power Rangers Unlimited. But there's story potential there. I don't know if this has anything to do with anything, but for those of you that read Draken World Beyond, no, that's Walking Dead, Draken New Dawn, they ended on that cliffhanger of evil Andros. Like in the coinless world, it was swapped. I mean, I don't know what Astronema was doing, but Andros was evil. I'm like, are they going to do anything with that? What if that would be cool if that has something to do with this. I doubt it, but I couldn't help but think about it. I was also surprised that Andros connected with the Rangers so early. When we saw him teased last week, I assumed it was last week. I always say last week like it's an episode. Last time, I assumed it was going to be something for a couple issues down the road, like we were going to encounter some standard adventures or those guys that wanted revenge and set them up for later. So I was pleasantly surprised that we got to this now. But yeah, overall, solid and enjoyable issue. I'm digging what the Omega story is laying down, even if it is a little bit generic sci-fi stuff. But what did you guys think? What do you want to see come of the Andros storyline in this comic? Let me know in the comments. As always, until next time, like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell. Notifications for my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.